Mayor John Tory had a million decisions he needed to make to help Toronto through COVID over the past year. Some of those worked out well, others were questioned, and he was often criticized. But making those calls to help people with different needs was probably his biggest juggling act.
Many of the so-called TO programs that you've put together, the active TO, curb TO, cafe TO, how much of an impact do you think they've had?
I think they've had a big impact, and that's based on the feedback I do get from people who said, why didn't we do this sooner? And we really like it, and so on. And I think that, as a result, is going to mean that a number of these things are going to be repeated next year when hopefully there isn't as much of a pandemic, or maybe it's going to have gone away entirely. I think it'll be a while yet, so that we can do these things.
You have people that are advocates for the people that are on the street that continue to say not enough is being done. What's your response at this point?
My response is to say that the advocates will probably be right, no matter what stage they're at or what day they're commenting, that we haven't done enough, because this is the most perplexing, complex problem that I've experienced as mayor, together perhaps with gun violence. We had to move 3,000 people from shelters that did not even contemplate the concept of physical distancing to other accommodation. We have rehoused 1,100 people out of the encampments. I could go on through a long list. But the bottom line is we've done a lot, but is it enough? No, because there are still people who are homeless.
Now that we've been able to map out the problem in the city with COVID and the specific spots within the city that have been hit the hardest, how do you go about making sure that the people in these parts of the cities are taken care of beyond just this pandemic?
By, again, taking the lesson of the pandemic and saying to ourselves, we have to sort of really focus hard. And this is part of the challenge of government that is really going to be a challenge, I think, in 2021 and thereafter, which is to actually accept the notion that we can't do everything for everybody all the time. And that what we really have a responsibility to do is to target the places of greatest need.
It was another and is another major issue beyond COVID that arose this year in anti-Black racism and systemic racism. What message did you take from the rallies, the protests, and what has the city done in response?
The main message I took was that there was a much greater consensus. We established the first ever anti-Black racism unit inside the city government, first in North America. And we did that because we were acknowledging at the same time there was, even in Toronto, where they think we're doing better, and I think we are, a problem with the existence of anti-Black racism. So I think what the summer did, and the terrible incidents that led to the summer protests, was to allow people like me to see with our eyes something that you might not have seen as easily, which is there's a very broad consensus saying, yes, go forward responsibly, but go forward in a very determined way to bring about these changes. I just want to do the right thing for the city, and I love the city. I've lived my whole life here, and I just want to do it nothing but good, no harm. And so you just make the decision on the same basis. Nothing changes the longer it goes on. You just hope it is over soon. That's all, like everybody does.
As we all know, this isn't over yet. I also had a chance to speak with the mayor about the city's budget and overall economy. City Hall has managed to balance things out in the short term, and he does admit that transit ridership will take some time to get back to where it once was. And as any mayor would, he is confident that eventually the city will bounce